Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Brother Brothers, the ultimate unofficial podcast. I'm your live feed obsessed host, Fox Van Allen, and joining me today is a man who originated the term meow meow sneaky. It's Mr. Lance Cartelli. Hello, Lance. Wait, that's not
hey,
right.
Fox.
You're not the original meow meow, right?
No, I'm just an imitator.
I thought Enzo gave up on the meow meow thing. I thought he was childish after Zingbot hit him with it. And now he's back on the meow meow train.
He let the trademark lapse, and I got in there, so that's why I guess technically I'm the original.
Yeah. Well, we've got a week to talk about here, Lance. I don't know how exciting the week is, but we've got a lot. We actually do have a lot to talk about here, Lance, because I want to talk about Cody's third week as HOH, and we're gonna figure out whether it went okay or not, and we're gonna talk about the flip that almost happened to save Tyler. Didn't quite happen, obviously, because Tyler's gone. We can talk about that a little bit. Also going to talk about the final 5 HOH. We're going to figure out who is safe and heading on to the final 4, who their nominations are going to be, and why this week we may actually see a big move. Keeping our fingers crossed, it would be the first one of the season. So at final 5, the game's finally about to get started, Lance. Here we go.
Just like everyone predicted.
Yeah. But before we get into talking about all the spoilers and what's going to happen in the future and all that good stuff, let's talk a little bit about the week that was here because we started last week with our big triple eviction going into this week, and a whole big chunk of the Monday show, because it's not on Sundays anymore, a huge chunk of the Monday show is about this triple eviction and about Tyler's big move to try to flip Enzo on Nicole, and that it didn't work. And that's basically the story of this week, why Tyler and Christmas are on the block, right, Lance?
Kind of. I mean, it's a reason that side of the house can use, but I think they were going to go after Tyler no matter what, as long as Christmas didn't win. Yeah,
as Cody would say, 100%, 1,000,000% even, perhaps 1 billion %. It's some percent that is at least 100, much higher. You're right. A lot of this is just a lot of it's window dressing about justifying sending someone out of the house. Tyler and Christmas were on the bottom. We did get to see a little bit more about Tyler and Enzo, that campaign to flip Enzo. And of course, you and I know, and all of our listeners know, that Enzo's not going to flip here. Enzo's pretty in with Cody here. He explains that he doesn't want to blindside Cody with the vote. And it seems like, based off of a lot of the campaigning that Tyler and Christmas are doing, it doesn't seem like Enzo's really sold on this vote about this flip. And they just kind of go with it, hoping that Enzo will do the right thing. And of course he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, shoot or shoot, right? But this is just a bad job by them. I definitely commend them for trying to make a move, because it's just a bunch of people not making moves this season. So good job by them on that part. But it was short-sighted and kind of just how Tyler has played this whole season, where just going by the seat of his pants, and he was just hoping and praying. And for that kind of big move on a guy that is probably not going to flip, you need more than 20 seconds or 30 seconds, This is where it really backfired, that it was a double, triple eviction kind of thing, where they couldn't have a whole week where you can work him and everything. And, Tyler tried, and then it just kind of dragged Christmas into it too. But, it was a bummer. It didn't work out.
Yeah, the story of the week really is a lot of Tyler pitching to Enzo. And Tyler's not good at that. Throughout the week, Tyler comes up with the worst possible pitches to Enzo. He tries to get between Enzo and Cody, and that's never going to work. And then, it's an interesting week, because for a large chunk of the week, Tyler seems like he's going to be fine. He's going to be okay, because Memphis has this final 3 deal with Christmas that Cody knows about, that Enzo knows about, and Cody's not happy with it. Cody would like to see her gone. But at the same time, Tyler is coming in and trying to make some moves and trying to get between Cody and Enzo. And I guess they're both competitors, so that's kind of a wash. And what do you think about this move? Lance, if you're there, what's the right move here? Is it to keep Tyler is to keep Christmas. Like, what do you think about? Let's talk about this from everybody's point of view here, Lance. But what do you think? Did each and every person here make the right move?
I think for the most part, yeah, they did, because Tyler's just, like everyone said, he's a beast. He's really good at this game. Even, when he's like 80% of what he was when he originally played, like obviously not the best Tyler we've seen.
Yeah.
Even 80% Tyler's pretty damn great. And they all said it, like, this might be our only shot. So I totally get it from that point. And yeah, he's just so good at this that why not while he's there? And then, Christmas isn't going to win. Like, she might win some competitions and stuff, and that might be what gets her to the end, but people aren't voting for her to win. People would vote for Tyler to win.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest tiebreaker here, is the fact that just Christmas is not a very likable person in the house. She may be fantastic outside the house. I don't know her. I've never, so I don't know. But inside the house, it seems like she gets on a lot of people's nerves here. She plays a little bit aggressively. And we got a lot of interesting Christmas edits here throughout this week. She's apparently all over the place. One week she's angry that she's not winning. This week she's on the block and she's thrilled about it. She's like laughing with everybody. It's an interesting Christmas that we get. And throughout the week, Nicole, obviously not thrilled with what happened during the triple eviction, but she cannot stand Christmas, and she doesn't like Tyler either. But like she doesn't like anybody. It's almost like we were talking about this a little bit online earlier. Like, it's almost like a sitcom, the way like Nicole dislikes Christmas, and Christmas is kind of like on this other planet where she's still trying to win over Nicole, even though it's not going to happen. And there's like a moment where like Nicole lies and says like she's got like diarrhea. She can't hang out. I gotta go. That's a serious move there. Lying about severe gastrointestinal distress just to get out of having to talk with someone.
Like, don't you have a better list of things that, get you out of a combo? I know it's tough when you're in the house and there's nowhere to go, washing your hair or something, but, you think dysentery would be like towards the bottom,
Yeah. I'll say though, I'm not gonna make that argument. That's all right. You go. I don't.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where you don't question it. I don't
want to learn more about it, so we're gonna let it go.
One of my favorite Nicole moments from the triple eviction though was, we're 2 weeks away from this finale, and Nicole is now saying "game freaking on." So what were you doing these first couple months? It's just explaining the entire season that we've had.
Yeah.
Now it's game on.
It's the 2-1 vote, and all of a sudden it just shocks her. That she's not in a great situation. She does almost go home twice. Not really, but there are scenarios where it could have happened. Yeah. And she's not happy about that. And meanwhile, her best friend in the game, Cody, is sitting pretty. He's never been on the block. If he did sit on the block, he doesn't need to worry about going home. It's really the tale of two games, and it's why one of those two is going to win $500,000. And why the other is not.
That's right. Yeah. We get it's Cody had a funny week where you get the dumb segment where he says 34 times or whatever it was. But then you get this stuff where he's playing people perfectly and he's just understanding every single thing that's going on in the game and why he's making these moves, where it's like he's running the game. And so it's just kind of funny to see that dichotomy of him, because he is not a smart person, but when it comes to the game, he definitely gets it.
See, here's where I think a lot of people are getting this wrong, right? Like, I don't think Cody's a dummy. He's not a dummy. Like, he knows what's going. Like, he's playing it up a little bit. He's just from New Jersey, and everyone's like, I'm from New Jersey, and you can get it mixed up. But look at this veto competition from this week that Cody is in. It is a puzzle competition, and Cody comes in with a time under 5 minutes. And this is a competition where Tyler, who's definitely playing to win, he times out on. Like, he can't even get this thing done in 25 minutes.
2 people timing out is kind of wild. And then for him to do it, so he's obviously he's a well-rounded guy, good at everything. But when it was funny during that segment, him talking and trying to complete a sentence just felt like Trump, It was just like, what is he saying? It's just a word jumble and everything. And I totally get that. Your mind's going a bunch of different places. I do that sometimes, but it's just funny to see that.
He's also just talking to Christmas, and he doesn't want to actually say anything.
Yeah.
So the best way to do that is to just say a bunch of times.
Yeah. And it's the Trump way of getting out of a question. You know, you don't answer that question. You say a bunch of nonsense.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what you're talking about. All this politics thing. The only vote I'm interested in.
Stick to Big Brother.
Is the vote for America's favorite player that's coming up, and we're going to talk about that a little bit because we got some big endorsements in that particular race. We're going to stick to our expertise, Lance. When it comes to politics on the global stage, that ain't us. We're about,
stick to Big Brother.
We're about the small. We're about the small business and who's better able to put pumpkins in a shovel. That's us. I want to go back. We started talking about the veto competition. I want to go back a little bit and talk about this HOH competition, the one that Cody wins to become the first or the second, I guess, 3-time HOH. Pardon me, after Memphis here. Not surprising, by the way, that both 3-time HOHs are still in the game. It is Namaste off the block. And first of all, like I think Tyler is like, if Tyler is not meant for Big Brother, Tyler is meant for yoga. Like he is such a calming influence here.
Yeah, and he wears those tights under his shorts and everything too. You know, those yoga pants.
Yeah, this is if the vegan cookbook and the jewelry thing, like all like Angel's projects don't work out, he could open a yoga studio. He's got a. I mean,
sell jewelry from the yoga studio. It makes too much sense.
It really does, actually. It makes total sense. It's kind of like this, you throw in some MLM essential oils into the mix. Like you could get this whole influencer package that just boils down into a weird yoga session.
I mean, Mark Cuban would invest on that on Shark Tank, 100%.
I would be more likely to do yoga if there was a lot of buttons involved, like having to press buttons. I'd be more interested in that. I'd also be more interested in yoga, yes, if everyone there was trying to take their clothes off.
One thing I did find interesting about this HOH is, like pretty much every competition, women were at a disadvantage. Like even heard, because the clothes are tighter, like even heard Nicole say her being sweaty and everything made it harder. And the guys had looser clothes. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and the first round here, the one where Christmas goes out immediately again, to make sure that this HOH is not going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah. Forgets to take his shirt off. Like, oh my.
Well, that's the thing. Like she's taking that, like, is part of it that the guys who have hit it, like they're like, is it because she's like, she doesn't realize she's got to take it off? Like, I don't know, but her entire strategy with this thing was terrible. A lot of bad strategy with this HOH. Like it's an HOH where you think there's not a ton of strategy, but the sheer number of people who just make the decision, you know what, I'm going to take my hands off all the buttons for a hot second to take off this shirt. It takes them like 4 seconds to take off the shirt, and already they're done. And they're
it says a lot about people too. It's patience, it's strategy. It really tells you a lot. And the impulsive people did that, and then you have Cody once again. Cody's really the only one with strategy there. Like Memphis was good at it. But he was like, hey, I'm just going to take my time. I've got a 2-minute buffer right here. I'm going to take my time and, cakewalk to the end.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of people eventually do fall in that same Christmas trap where it's, I'm just going to try to take it off on my way to the button, and it never works out for anybody.
Yeah.
Cody
you're so close and everything. Yeah, I get it, but there's no reason to do that, especially when you're like the first person to buzz in too. And you're like 34 minutes.
Christmas did want to know, are they all just practicing taking their clothes off all the time? And you know what? Cody's pretty good at that. We have talked about Cody being an actor, Lance, but have we talked a lot about Cody being a model? Cody is both a model and an actor. Put it together, you get Mactor. And perhaps the most successful Mactor to ever play the Big Brother game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were going to say stripper, and that would have made a lot of sense. But
if Big Brother doesn't work out for him, he can make money doing that. Start the OnlyFans. Get the OnlyFans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Make more than winning Big Brother.
Yeah. As attractive as I do think Cody is, he is a handsome looking gentleman. Apparently, Paulie's much more into him. Paulie's trolling people on Twitter, talking about how much he wants to kiss Cody. I'm here for it, but I don't know. Paulie's got a lot going on, Lance. I wanted to bring this up. I wanted to bring this up later, but I guess I'm already talking about him. So let's just talk about it now. The news, the craziest news of today, crazy week for news in general, right? Apparently, Cody Calafiore Cody's brother, Paulie, is under consideration for the U.S. Olympic team. Did you read about this, Lance?
Yeah, you sent it to me, so I saw that. I had just, how desperate are they for? Yeah, how desperate are they for some bobsledders?
First of all, I love that there's a Lolo Jones angle here. It's
right.
It's Celebrity Big Brother, of course. You know, you're gonna wind up talking with Paulie eventually. But I guess.
Well, challenge too. Lolo was on the challenge.
Yeah, no, listen. Paulie is a fantastic athlete. Like that's his thing. Like he's super into it, and he's good at that.
I guess he's small enough too. You know, you got to be small in the bobsled and everything. So he's slight enough, I guess.
And he's getting a lot bigger though. He's adding on a lot of mass, and you know, there's no social game at the Olympics. It's all just competition wins. So
yeah,
you know,
maybe just gotta watch it. Just don't kiss all your teammates. You know,
maybe that's a strategy.
Or maybe do.
Yeah. Apparently, they asked him what his experience with bobsledding is, and you know what he said, don't you, Lance?
Tell me.
You watch Cool Runnings. That's the Pauliest answer I could possibly imagine. What do you know about bobsledding? Well, I watch Cool Runnings. Okay.
Well, I was gonna bring it up. So I mean, great movie. So if you're gonna learn.
Yeah. Admittedly, my experience with bobsled does not go especially farther than Cool Runnings, having seen it myself. I do know.
What about Cool Runnings 2?
Yeah. And now
the sequel.
That's right. I know about Cool Runnings 2. And I know about Lolo Jones and Cody Calafiore. Hey, it's a big year for the Calafiore family. So stay tuned.
I heard Lolo's going to be on, a little spoiler, on the next season of the challenge.
Oh, is that right? Oh, that is some hot news.
Yeah, because she was on the pros versus Joes or whatever one, or the pros versus challenge people. And it sounds like she's being brought into the proper challenge.
Oh, I like that. So does that mean Lolo is now a prospect?
I guess, I mean, she'd be,
is that the term
she wouldn't be a rookie, right?
Right? Yeah, I
don't think she'd be she's been in it. I don't know. I guess she's a rookie in the challenge, but not in the franchise. I don't know how they'll do that.
All right. Well, stay tuned for that. I'm excited about. We got to look forward to something here because we don't have another Survivor season on the schedule. Big Brother maybe next year. We got to look forward to something, and the challenge is it, right? The challenge is it.
That's right. An Amazing Race, right? CBS.
Oh, Amazing Race. Now, I'm really looking forward to the Amazing Race. Not to get too far off topic here, but to have a season of Amazing Race recorded back before the world fell apart, I'm into it. Like, I want to see this.
I'll take any new content right now.
Yeah, and it is new content. Like, I'm ready for a reality TV show that isn't just people we've seen before. Because that's all we've been getting this year. It's Survivor, it's Big Brother, I mean, let's face it, that's what the challenge is. The challenge is just bring back people we've seen before.
Oh, yeah, which is great. But sometimes you need some fresh blood.
Need some fresh blood here, and we're going to get some. I mean, it's fresh as in like recorded in 2019 fresh, but still fresh, you know?
I'll take it.
Maybe recorded in 2018. I don't know how long this season sit around.
I'll take it.
We'll take it. Yeah. Let's get back to Big Brother though here, Lance. Let's get back to Big Brother. Because let's talk about we talked about the HOH comp. Let's talk about the veto comp for a little bit. We started with that. Did you think this was I like this. I like this veto comp. I am very surprised. Do you think Enzo threw it? Or do you think Enzo really couldn't figure it out either?
Which veto comp? There's so many.
Or the snapshot one. The one from this week, we were taking the 10 pictures of, I guess, Janelle, Kaser, Nicole, Keisha, basically the people we like in the game. And we're organizing the pictures of the people we like in the game, while the people who we don't like in the game get constantly booed for the wrong answers.
Right. I don't think anybody threw it. I think he's just that bad at it. So, I mean, it was tough. You could tell people were struggling, especially with I forget which individual part it was, but it was something that they all screwed up on, it seemed like.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. The best part for me was just the booze. That was the best part.
Oh, yeah.
I think we need more of that.
Yeah,
more booze,
it almost reminded me of the Wall Yellers.
Yeah. That's anyway, if as interesting as that veto competition was, perhaps for those of you who didn't see or didn't know what happened on the live feeds. Listen, Lance, I mentioned a little bit about this before we go live, but you and I, we're live feeders, or at least we love the spoilers, right? Even if we can't catch live feeds on a night, we're gonna hop on Joker's updates and see who won HOH, what's going on, right? But this season, aside from that 1 week where Devon won HOH and Devon won veto, pardon me, and things was that wishful thinking, where Devon wins veto and things get a little weird on that episode. Like, there have not been a lot of reasons for those of us who watch live feeds to watch these Wednesday veto episodes, just because it's someone you don't want to see wins to keep the game as uninteresting as possible. And then nothing happens with the veto. Like, no one comes off the block, no one gets named as a replacement. Not a lot happens, right?
It's a tough watch, and if you combine this with last season, we've had like 1.5 good weeks of Big Brother in 2 seasons.
Yeah. I saw someone on Twitter say that this season may have peaked when Janelle and Kaser won the safety competition. And that may not be wrong. May not be wrong.
That might be. I honestly think like them walking into the house and just seeing them again was the peak. Like, it's like, okay, we got all these people back, and then it's like immediately sucked.
Yeah. Week one was about as good as it got. I still will say there is always going to be that tiny veto week. There is always going to be a tiny veto week.
Yeah, I think those are like the 2 bright spots right now.
Unfortunately, the week where Ian goes home is the bright spot.
That's why it's a half a week that's good and not a full week, like the Jeff's week.
It's slightly shuffled the boot order, but hey, the boot order may get slightly shuffled this week, so we'll talk about that in a moment here. But before we do, what I want to talk a little bit about Memphis here, because Memphis is in a very interesting position. And it sounds like a lot of this whole Tyler Christmas vote does come down to, really comes down to Memphis and whether Cody and Enzo want to keep someone that Enzo is working with Memphis is working with in the game. Does Memphis really have, I don't know, does Memphis have a shot at this thing? Like, how does Memphis win in the end?
I think if Cody's gone, I think he has a legitimate shot. I think he's got a resume, and during that jury segment that wasn't that great, you do kind of hear people talk up Memphis a little bit. It's not like it's kind of the kiss of death for them to say, oh, this person's playing great, because then that person is the next person sent out. But he's tied with Cody for the 3 HOHs, and there is a way to think of this, that he's been running this house a lot of it. Yeah. Maybe not completely, because Cody is in that alliances, but he's made some really smart alliances, and he's kind of fallen in the right, everything's kind of fallen his way. And so I definitely think Cody's the clear-cut favorite, but if you're putting him up against Enzo, who hasn't really done anything and is afraid to make moves, putting him against a Christmas, against a Nicole, I think he's probably the second favorite now.
I feel like if you go down the list of people, it seems like the jurors and the people who are left in the game, people just have stronger reactions to everybody else aside from Memphis. It's like, I know where people stand on Cody, and I know where people stand on Nicole, and I know where people stand on Enzo. But when it comes to Memphis, it's a lot harder to tell. How does David actually feel about Memphis? That's something I would love to know. I would love to know. How does Devon feel about Memphis? How does Dani feel about it? I really don't know a lot about that. Though I will say the one thing I do like about Memphis's game, or at least Memphis in general, and I'm digging deep here to find something like this, but when Tyler is talking with him about, do I have your vote, man? Memphis just kind of says, not really. I don't think so. I'm leaning to voting you out. And this isn't the first time he does it this season, Memphis. Memphis keeps it real with people on the way out the door. And I will say that, I would prefer that. If I am Tyler, I prefer Memphis telling me I don't have a shot with him than Memphis lying to me and saying, oh, yeah, maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, totally. That definitely feels like an old school kind of thing. And, everyone kind of cozies up to that person and tries to be nice, or lies to them. It's like, oh, I don't know yet. Or, yeah, you totally have my vote. And then they don't. And it's boring. So I like that, kind of that goes more on theme with him is, when he won HOH during that triple eviction, it's I don't want to do any meetings. What's the point of these 30-second convos? And I love that. I thought that was great.
I do too. Yeah.
And so he's a decisive guy, and he's pretty clutch when he needs to be, and he's set himself up in a really good spot through his doing or not.
I was gonna say I'd vote for him to win over Christmas, but I don't know if that's the case. I don't know. I don't know. It's to me,
I would.
This is a hard sell. But I have seen everything. Yeah, that's the thing. I've seen it all.
He's a bad person and everything, but if you are just taking gameplay, he's played the second best game there, you know, and so that's not the only thing people care about. So if him just being a huge douche is something that stops people from voting, I understand that too.
Yeah, a Memphis win would basically be like another win for Jackson. It's like such a similar feel to it, where he won a lot of competitions. Like, that's hard to deny. He's there because he won competitions when he needed to. But also, it's hard to like him. It was just hard to like him.
It's not easy.
Unless you're on the jury.
They both kind of dress the same too.
You've seen? Have we seen a lot of Jackson in the denim vest?
The denim. I could see him doing it, but they definitely wear a lot of flannels.
I will say that if I had to pick the Big Brother bro to most likely wear a denim vest, probably Brett from Big Brother 20. I would think he would wear it first.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about Big Brother bro. I thought you were talking about us, and I was like, not me.
I probably would be more likely of the two of us to wear a denim vest, but not very likely at all.
I don't do denim on denim.
Memphis would. All right, so Lance, we've got a lot to talk about. You started talking about the jury segment, and you know that's my favorite segment of, like, I just love jury segments, and I want to get into that jury segment and talk about it. And we're going to do that right after this. Okay, Lance. So let's waste no time. Let's get right into this jury segment. First of all, give me your initial reaction to this jury segment. What do you think? What do you think?
In a word, yawn. It was like this season. It was boring. It was anticlimactic. The only thing that I really thought was there was two things. I just loved all Day's comments. Anytime Day's on the screen, I'm happy. Yeah. And then it was just really striking how hard it was hitting Dani. That was one thing that was really my big takeaway. Is I feel like that betrayal and everything and all that stuff that happened is going to stick with her for a very long time. And I wouldn't be surprised if she comes back and plays again, because I don't think she wants this to be, the last thing, the bad taste in her mouth, and what people remember.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point, and I think we could possibly. I wouldn't be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if she got an invite to come back and play again. I think she is one of the more interesting players this season, in a season that did not have a lot of interesting gameplay.
Yeah, she at least played,
right?
Yeah, she played, and she played a strong game. Like, no one's played a perfect game, and she messed up a lot. It was sloppy, but at least she played.
Yeah. Well, she gets taken out here in kind of the way that, like, Cody had orchestrated it all along, where, like, Dani's there and Dani's part of this alliance, but Dani's going to get an enemy or two along the way, and that enemy is going to take her out. And that's exactly what happened. Tyler was kept in the game long enough to take Dani out. That's why Tyler made it to final 6. I don't know if you want to keep Tyler around that long otherwise.
I do wish, just like playing Monday morning quarterback and looking back at it, that Tyler, instead of targeting Dani and Nicole, team up with Dani and take a shot at the guys, try to take a Cody or a Memphis out. I think because Tyler was on the block. I mean, he was a target anyways. So they could at least try to work together and done something. Maybe you pull something out, but he went home anyway. So, like, it's tough to say. Like, obviously, if you go back,
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the moves that makes the season better, that doesn't improve his game at all. It's
he's really in a lose-lose situation.
There's so many moves that, like, I've wanted to see happen this season that would have been terrible for the person who would have broken the tie in favor of those moves. They're playing safe, and Enzo's making it to final 2 or final 3 because he played it safe. I mean, that's a pretty good game. But yeah, as far as this, going back to this jury segment, Lance, like I said, I love jury segments, but this one did feel a little bit flat to me. Partially because most of it's just the 3 people we just saw go home last week. There's not a lot of time to stew in the jury between Ian and Devon. I did think it was incredible that both Ian and Devon were like, that Dani, she's running the game, which was just a terrible terrible read on both of them, just because Dani was in 2 alliances.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the jury and why this thing, Memphis could definitely win. And then it's like I said, it's like the kiss of death, because then I think, what was it? Kevin was like, Tyler's just running the game. Boom, there goes Tyler.
Yeah, Kevin, I see you, Tyler. Well, now he's gone.
Yeah.
Kevin with his hot reads, talking about, Dr. Will saying you got to think 3 steps ahead. So I'm pretty sure there's a double. You know what 3 means?
Just totally makes sense.
2. Yeah.
Yeah. it is so on brand for his entire game that he just totally misreads it.
Yeah. I'm good for him though. Like, I'm glad that he is, and it seems like most of the people in the jury, like you said, with the exception of Dani, who is carrying with her a lot of the Cody betrayal. It seems like Ian's fine with it, Devon's fine with it, Kevin's fine with it, David's fine. They're all fine with it. Like, they're out of the game, but you know what? They're fine. Got some turtles. They're chilling. Cool.
That was one of the bigger takeaways for me, even with Tyler's elimination. He just took it so well. And, I appreciate that. Like, it is a game. Like, Ian totally gets it. It's a game. Mm-hmm. And they made the right decision on most of these people and everything. And then I love Dave's reactions. Like, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with all that drama, and I left earlier and stuff. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. I gotta say, like, as far as like television, like, if Julie Chen Moonves needs to retire someday, Devon is like hands down. Like, Devon has got lines. Like, she doesn't even need people to feed her the lines. She's got the lines already. She is just so quick. She is so gorgeous. She is so fantastic. She should be running this show. She should be running this show. Like, we should quit and just have 2 Devons doing this thing. That'd be a lot better than us.
Come on the pod.
Yeah,
I know she's listening, but
listening
that
in
would
the
be
jury
great.
house.
Her hosting would make the post eviction interviews actually interesting too. So instead of just "I love you," give me a hug. I wish I could hug you.
Love you and God, both of those.
Yeah.
Yes, but as you know, I cannot give you that hug. So it's Ian was very classy in that jury segment. I like that Ian took the same approach that I did over that $10,000 that David took. It's like, listen, man, you could have gone out second round, just take the cash. And
David wasn't going to win, so.
No, he wasn't. And he wasn't. Yeah. And David had the right frame of mind. Like, he had spent so many of these weeks just up against the wall, like, trying to make something happen. Nothing was happening. And yeah, he could have made it one more week, but like, that's the entire story of his Big Brother game, is just making it one more week and then nothing happening as a result of, one more week down the line and you're back on the block, because this is a boring season where no power shifts happen.
Yep.
So can't blame him too much there. One thing that I did think was interesting out of Kevin was Kevin's comments about Enzo, because Enzo is someone I think could very well be in that final too. And apparently Kevin is losing respect for Enzo the more he learns about it, or at least that line that Kevin had seemed to be directed at Enzo. What do you think about that? Like, what do you think about that? Is that interesting?
I totally get it. Like, I honestly, like, I like Enzo. He's definitely like the most entertaining person on this other, aside from Day on the season. But I totally get it. Like, the more I get to know him, the more I hang out with him on these and watch his gameplay, I definitely don't respect what he does. He kind of just says the same thing over and over, agrees with what you're saying, kind of mirrors what you're saying, and doesn't do anything. Like, what's his big, like, he's got to really hope that, like, Memphis and Cody go at each other, and I still don't get, like, how he wins at the end and everything, other than just being super likable, which I totally get, but he is just not doing anything that is that interesting.
Yeah, I think the Big Brother editors were kind of going to work this week and trying to build the Enzo case. I think we saw a lot more this week than in the previous weeks about the moves Enzo was making. And when we get the second or third retelling, I don't know how many times we need to have the triple eviction retold to us through the opening moments, but eventually we get that Enzo is the mastermind. Enzo tricked Tyler and Christmas into casting his vote all of a sudden. And now Enzo is, I mean, listen, if it was 100% an Enzo move, if Enzo had this fully calculated, he came out great. But I don't know that it was as calculated as the show wants us to believe it was.
Yeah, and another thing that bugs me is he's just all talk and everything. And, you know, it he doesn't come through. And I just don't understand his gameplay really at all.
I like Enzo. I do think Enzo can still make it to the end, but I think unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, if you're Cody Calafiore, just judging by this entire work of the season, if Cody doesn't win, like Cody should probably win at this point. Like if Cody doesn't win, like what did we put up with the last 2 months for? Like for Enzo to sneak it through in the end.
Cody's in a real, like, for as well as he set himself up, he's in a real position where he has to win out because everyone also realizes this guy is the clear-cut favorite and amazing. So who wants to take him to the final 2,
Or does he? Because, we could get to the final 5 and he could stay off the block. And we get to the final 4 and he could stay off the block. And we get to the final 3 and he could stay off the block. It just depends on who those people are. Christmas is ready to make the move now, but if Christmas doesn't win HOH, Memphis will be able to be interested in make the move at 3. But if he doesn't win HOH at 3, can he do it at 3? There are people, but it's just Cody has been doing a really good job all game of having occasionally people interested in getting rid of him, but they always go home before they have a chance to do anything about it. Like Kevin was around forever, being the only person who would put Cody on the block, and then he just
Cody just feels like the third out to me, unless he wins out.
Yeah. It could be, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the final 4 and the final 5 in a moment. But before we do, I just want to talk about that, the Tyler's goodbye, and Christmas as well, when they were on the block, and Christmas mentioned this is the best final 6 of all time. What do you think of that, Lance? What do you think about Christmas's call? Is this the best final 6 of all time?
No. It's the most boring, but if you put up like accolades and stuff, still no.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Brother All-Star, the original All-Star season was better.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of Jackson, but I liked season 21's final 6 better. I was more excited at that season's final 6. I thought the final 6 at Big Brother 20 was pretty good. We had some interesting folks in there. Well, maybe not 19, but we've had some good final 6s in there.
Big Brother 10, Big Brother 14.
Oh, Big Brother 10, the one with Memphis in it. Yeah, I remember that one.
Could be. We could have 2 winners from that season.
In the goodbye messages, like Tyler was fantastic. On his way out, talking with Julie. He seems like a good guy. When it comes down to it, in a game that often does not have a lot of good guys, for the most part, he's had some problems, and he's not fully unproblematic. There have been a few, let's talk the Bailey Devon on the block week. That was a mess. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, he does seem to have. His heart seems to be in the right place. Messy though his game occasionally winds up being, because of heartbreak over not being around Angela or whatever it is. Interesting that Julie was really pushing him to say that they made the wrong move in keeping him, or they made the right move. She just kept trying to change his mind about it, but he was pretty. Yeah, they should have kept her.
Yeah, that was live TV, in action right there, where she's like, oh, wait, I already asked this question. You could tell, like, when she's finishing the questions, like, oh, crap, I asked this already.
Yeah.
But he went out like a champ, like, good for him. Obviously frustrating for him that he has to now not be in the game and not be with Angela for a couple more weeks. But it was frustrating because if he didn't have that kind of lapse and everything, maybe he wins this thing. Maybe he has like a better shot and stuff. But
I would like
at least one of the guys that played.
Yeah, I would like to see where his game would have been had he not made that weird blowing up his own game decision there because then he wouldn't have necessarily been in this. Maybe he would have. Maybe he wouldn't have been. But like with that whole beef with Dani, that really takes them both out of the game. If that didn't happen, maybe one or both of them goes further in the game. And apparently if Dani makes it all the way to the end, she wins because everyone thinks she's a mastermind. So, hey, who knows? You know,
I think if she made it to the end, I would have picked her over a Cody. Like it was those two. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, quite possibly. She did seem to be playing a much more active game of Big Brother, and a more interesting game of Big Brother. Cody's game, while fantastic, and while perhaps Derek-esque, is about as entertaining as Derek's game was, which is not very. So there's that. Anyway, our goodbye message from Julie Chen this week, Lance, was be just and be merciful. Who is she talking to with these? Where are these? These are very just and merciful, like a paladin. Like what a.
I don't know. I'm not. I can't get into Julie Chen Moonvest's head on that one, but I would say heed her advice, public.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would recommend all of you be just and merciful. And I would also recommend that all of you stick around after this particular break that's coming up, because we're going to talk about the final five. We're going to talk about the spoilers. We're going to talk about the nominations, who may go home, who the target is. And we're gonna break down everyone's chances right here into the end game. And stick around because we're going to do all of that right after this. All right, Lance. So we're back. We've got, as promised, I want to talk a little bit about the final five HOH. We got a preview as we were heading out of the episode. It's a spooky Halloween-themed HOH, or at least they're just putting some pumpkins in a shovel. This is an HOH that Cody played back in season 16. It was also, I believe, a season 20 competition as well. But the seesaw. Very interesting. I don't know. It's a standard Big Brother competition, right?
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah,
it's not one of the best, not one of the worst.
Yeah. Did you have any? I mean, going into this, my first thought was, okay, so this is something that Christmas stands a pretty decent shot of winning. I would think she seems pretty athletic, pretty quick to move. As long as she doesn't spill the contents of her shovel too many times. Actually, I got a social media quote here. The quote is, "It's such a blanking season when you have to root for Christmas to win HOH." That's Janelle. That's what Janelle says. Janelle rooting for Christmas to win HOH here. Admittedly, I think I was too. I think I was rooting for Christmas to win.
I didn't even think about that till I heard that, and man, that just made me really depressed. That was like a gut punch. And she's right. I mean, we're definitely rooting for, because it would be the most interesting outcome.
Yeah. It's Team Good TV. And Team Good TV says that Christmas is going to put at least Cody on the block, maybe look for some revenge.
Even if she's not scared. Like, if there's one thing to say about Christmas, she's not scared. So she would, put up whoever the hell she wants.
Yeah, she is happy. She is angry. She is aggressive. She is not scared. No, she's not scared.
She's all the Christmas things, Don't you feel that every December?
With a name like Christmas, how can you not be merry? It's
la la la, man.
Oh boy. Yeah. So I figured Christmas had a great shot at winning this thing. You gotta think Memphis could possibly be in there too, just because he's won so much stuff. You never know whether Enzo's even going to try throwing it or not, because Enzo's game is he doesn't need to win stuff. Stuff's just going to happen around him. But it actually winds up, spoiler alert, you can stop listening here if you don't want to hear any spoilers for the coming week. But your new final five HOH, Lance, is Nicole. Our good old friend Sloppies has won final five HOH and is your it's guaranteed placement in the final four of Big Brother 22. What's your reaction to that, Lance? Aside from womp womp.
Womp. I mean, come on. It's not the worst, I guess. It could have been worse. Like, Nicole, maybe seeing how the last couple of weeks have gone and the end game coming up, like maybe she strikes. Maybe she can pull something off, which makes things semi-interesting. But it's still Nicole.
Yeah. I feel like your worst case scenario would be for some kind of weird game mechanic to happen where Cody could win again and be HOH for the second time. That's your worst case scenario. Fortunately, game rules did not permit that worst case scenario from happening. So we get Cody's best friend, BFF, Nicole winning.
But does she dare take a shot at Cody?
Well, that's a good question, right? Because we know one person Nicole's going to put on the block, right? Nicole cannot stand Christmas. She does not. She has just been.
But it's such a waste.
All week long. And it is. And she's going to put Christmas on the block. And the problem is, once you, as Nicole, put Christmas on the block, she's pretty likely to go home. Once the other two, whoever of the other two people have to vote, they're probably going to want to get rid of Christmas. Maybe. So here's Nicole's plan, right? So we record this live on Friday, or we record this on Friday, not so live, I guess. And as we're taping right now, we are currently under the feeds are down. Nicole is making her nominations. They're not official as of the second, but when this thing goes live, her nominations will be revealed, and they will be.
I know her nominations.
Oh, you do?
Ooh, a little breaking news.
Oh yeah. You wanna tell me?
Christmas in Memphis.
Yeah, we got Christmas, and we got Memphis, and they are on the block together. Now, the interesting thing about this is that Nicole has a target, and it's not Christmas. Nicole would actually like to see Memphis go out of the house, which is, I think, about as close as you can get to a big move in Big Brother 22, as you can get, right? Because Memphis is not the person you'd otherwise think would be in trouble here. And maybe he's not going to be, because like, if this is the scenario, then the two votes are Cody and Enzo. Cody and Enzo get to determine how this week goes. And I mean, are they really going to want to get rid of Memphis? Maybe they are, because the argument is that Memphis has won HOH 3 times. Memphis is a much stronger competitor, and Memphis is more likely to win in the end. Not very likely, but still more likely to win in the end than Christmas.
I think it's an absolute no-brainer, especially if I'm Cody, because as I've said, I think Memphis is the second favorite. So you take out the one person that really has a chance to even come close to beating you, or especially in like these competitions and everything. Like, I get that Christmas is good, but you got to do that. You got to go after and clip Memphis. It seems like an absolute no-brainer.
And this is actually be a interesting blindside. Like, we could get our first real blindside of the season, unless you count, like, Ian saw it coming. So that doesn't even really count, I guess, as a blindside. He was very concerned that he was going at home. But if Christmas is on the block here, and Nicole put her there, and the votes are Cody and Enzo, Memphis has got to feel safe as hell. Like, against
it has to
against Christmas, like, he's gonna get nervous if she wins the veto. And obviously, like, that's the one caveat that we say every week at this point. Everything could change with the veto. So far this season, nothing's changed with the veto except for that 1 week debacle.
But you got to think, like, if I'm Cody, who controls Enzo, if Memphis is in my seat, if Memphis switches, the turntables have turned on them, and Memphis is the one doing it. Yeah. Memphis would get rid of Cody. So I think you have to think that way. Because Cody controls it right now. And if I'm Cody, and then you especially have Nicole in your ear saying to do this, and if those two are as close as you think, I feel like you have to do that.
Yeah, it does seem very unlikely that Nicole is going to want to do something that goes against Cody, just because that's what everyone's game is. No one wants to do anything that goes against Cody. So just assume that she won't. And that does kind of lead, yes, like you said, like I said earlier, Memphis does have a point where he is not worried about sending Cody from this game. Memphis has a final 2 with Cody, but I don't think Memphis wants to sit in the final 2 with Cody. I think that's just part of everybody is playing Tyler's game from Big Brother 20 and arranging as many final 2s as you can get. I think
nobody wants to sit in the end with Cody.
I think Enzo would, and I think Nicole
would. Yeah,
I think both of those two people are dumb enough to do it.
I think they would, but they don't want to.
Yeah.
Or they're just delusional. Because if I'm Nicole, I want to sit next to Enzo or Christmas, I guess, and vice versa.
Well, if she can hold back that emotional, like, want to get rid of Christmas because she voted to evict me from the game.
That's what you got to do. Like, you have to. Yeah. I know emotions get the better of you a lot of the times, but I mean, you have to have some kind of strategy.
And to be fair, that is actually a big argument that came up in this past week between when they were trying to decide, who do we send out, Tyler or Christmas? A big part of the math with everybody is that Nicole is so fed up with both of them. Nicole is not going to want to do anything with either of them. Nicole's not going to want to keep either of them. And here we are in a situation where maybe Christmas doesn't go home off the block. Or doesn't go to the jury while she's on the block. Of course, Nicole doesn't get a vote. So that's the biggest part, the biggest roadblock in her plan, is that though she has something going with Cody, she is kind of on her own.
Yeah, I still think though that if she really wanted to, she should have put Enzo up if she really wanted Memphis to go home, though. That's my thinking. Now, what do you think of that?
Yeah, no, I agree. Enzo has been this magic, like he has been the secret to sending.
He's like the guy that you can't vote out.
He is the person that would never go home this season. And he's been pretty good at keeping himself off the block. So that's never come to pass. But if you put anyone next to Enzo all season long, the person you put up against Enzo is going home.
Yeah, so I'm interested in hearing her thought process with that, I guess. If Memphis is your real target, why not just put him up against Enzo then?
Yeah. I mean, presumably part of it is that she wants to keep up the appearances, and like she's got her entire game right now is she hates Christmas, like can't stand her. She's awful.
So yeah, that's what I want to know I want to know, is this a vengeance kind of thing, or is this a strategic thing and backdoor kind of thing, or like not rock the boat kind of thing?
I mean, I do think Nicole is trying to play somewhat strategically here. I worry that she may have long passed the point where she has the tools to make a strategic move. She's the least powerful person in all of her alliances and all of her pairings. So that's gonna be tricky. But better late than never, like even if Tyler and Christmas didn't do anything but make people upset with their 3-2 vote to keep David, at least there was something happening, At least it wasn't a unanimous vote. At least we got some kind of storylines going.
Way to lower your freaking bar.
Just trying to stay as optimistic. I got to watch all these episodes, Lance. So
I mean, it's 2020, I guess. Lower your bar as much as you can.
Yeah. Hey, listen, a lot of things have gone worse this year than Big Brother. Like this is, in terms of everything that's happened in 2020, Big Brother 22 is in like the top half. So no matter where we go with this, it's still one of the better things that's happened this year. Yeah.
Yikes. That says what you need to know about 2020.
Yeah. So before we wrap it up here today, Lance, I do want to go through and talk about, since we're down to the final 5 here, we did it last year with our finalists here, and we're getting pretty close to the end. But I want to talk about everybody's chances of winning here, and kind of go through like, what do these people need to do to win? Okay. And let's start with the person who I've got here, who's in the most amount of trouble, I think, at least to go home before the finals happen. And that is Christmas here, Christmas Abbott. First of all, Lance, what do you think your chances of winning are?
Slim to none. Mm-hmm. Insert gif of, so you're saying there's a chance from Lloyd Christmas and Dumb and Dumber, but it's not great. Like, who does she up against? She beat Christmas? Is that the only person she can beat? I don't even know if she beats Christmas, because Christmas at least has a story
Christmas
of being an underdog. Oh, sorry. I thought we were talking about Nicole.
No. We're talking about Christmas.
My bad. Christmas then can probably only beat Nicole.
Okay. All right.
So, I guess we should talk about Nicole too.
I don't know. I guess we can talk about them both there at the same time if we're kind of comparing and contrasting. This is actually a very interesting final 2, because both of the 2 people in this final 2, Nicole and Christmas, both wanted to be the only woman left in the game, and both don't like each other because can you believe that she wants to be the only woman left in the game? Like they both they got
to team up, because like I said, those are the only 2. Like, that's a toss up to me. I have no idea, because Christmas, like I said, does have that story of being the underdog, and Nicole has a story of being a 2-time winner. And I think anybody else beats them. I
think so. Christmas is tough to like. Like we've said that a few times. Christmas is tough to like. And if you start taking a look at the jury, this is a very interesting jury vote, because you're talking about Devon, you're talking about like Kevin. Like, how does Devon vote here? Because we got we got Karen versus the person who.
There's Karen.
Yeah, the person who just made her angry and throw David under the bus all week long. It's like,
is Day
can she
allowed
vote for none of the above?
I was gonna say, is she allowed to abstain or what?
I don't think so.
But
you know,
Tyler, you make a great point.
Vote for Christmas, but
yeah, but you make a great point. Like Day, it's personal. Like she has personal stuff with both of them. Like I think Nicole would have had that vote locked up. She was just honest, and so that would be what if it came down to them two, and say Day was the deciding vote, and she voted against Nicole. How crazy would that be after giving her the money the last time?
That would be fantastic, and that would give me something to talk about for the offseason. That would be fantastic.
But then you're giving Christmas $500,000 too. You know
that part is sad. But I mean, we're giving $500,000.
They need to team up because like they got to team up.
Any of these people get $500,000. It's like whatever.
But let's move
on.
Doesn't
change my life. So I want to say Nicole. I think her best scenario is she could get Cody. She could get Dani. She'd probably get Memphis and Enzo. I feel like more than Christmas would. And then you only need one more. I think David might actually go for Nicole over, because David was talking about Nicole's move actually being a good game move.
Did you mention Ian?
The brunt of it. Ian would vote for Nicole for sure.
Yep.
So I think Nicole's got if this is your final two, Nicole and Christmas, or Nicole and the reverse side of a Fruit Loops box, I think Nicole wins in either of those two situations. So
so she has zero chance of winning.
I really don't, like, unless there's like something that happens that hasn't happened yet that we're going to be talking about. I don't know, man. It's looking real tough for Christmas here, and no matter how you cut it, because I don't think she's going to make it to the finals. And if she does get to the finals, I don't think she can win. So
exactly. Yep.
All right. So we already talked about Nicole and Christmas. Do you think there's anyone else Nicole can beat? Because I think that's tough. I think it's tough for Nicole to beat anyone but Christmas. Nope. Yeah,
that's it.
I think even Enzo can beat Nicole here.
Yeah.
I think Nicole has.
That's where Enzo's likability, and he could probably shape an argument that he was behind Cody doing this, and Memphis doing that, and all that stuff, and just being in so many alliances, never going on the block, even when people were saying that he is like the perfect person to be on the block and stuff. So yeah, I think there's an argument for him.
All right. Now, what about?
But I don't think Enzo beats either of the Cody or Memphis.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about Memphis then, because I think he's maybe the next person on my list anyway, of people who I think Memphis has a strong chance of making it to the finals. He's got an argument to make, but can Memphis win? What do you think?
Well, like I said earlier in the episode, he's the second favorite. So if you get Cody out, I think he has a really good shot. The one thing that I would find interesting, if it's him versus Enzo, how much is Memphis's resume versus Enzo's likability? What is that? What happens with that? So I think that could be a toss-up, but I think if you're taking just straight up gameplay, Memphis second favorite.
I think this is a good. I think that matchup that you mentioned, Enzo versus Memphis, that's probably almost about as good as it's going to get for Enzo here. I think in terms of like who's going to make it to the end, maybe it's going to be Enzo and Nicole at the end, and Enzo can beat Nicole. Yeah. I think Memphis is going to lose to Cody. I think everyone's going to lose to Cody. But I think Memphis has got a really good shot, at least at beating Nicole, a really good shot at beating Christmas, and a decent shot at beating Enzo. I think Enzo could still possibly beat out Memphis if it really just does come down to likability. It's hard to know how unlikable this guy is, Memphis. Like I said, like we detest him or we don't like what he's saying, but we've seen everything that he's saying and not everybody does, So,
and I do think, as bitter as the jury was in the jury segment, I do think that a lot of these people are going to reward gameplay.
Yeah.
Like Ian's going to reward gameplay. I think Tyler's going to reward gameplay. I think there's multiple people that will record that gameplay.
Yeah. And then I think your final person left here is Cody Calafiore, who I still, even 8, 9, 10 weeks in, I cannot believe that I am saying that this guy is about to win $500,000. But he probably is.
He deserves it for what's going on and everything. I do. That was kind of my one thing that it would have been really cool to see Tyler versus Cody in the end.
Yeah.
Because Tyler, he was playing it in strength, but at a disadvantage a lot too. And so I really think that would have been a fun dynamic, but we're not going to see it. So
yeah, he played a fantastic game, and he played a fantastic game all season long. I almost said Paulie. Cody Calafiore played a really good, if not boring, a really good game all season long, and I can't hate on him too much for that. He didn't do anything incredibly controversial.
If you have a boring season, you're probably gonna have a boring winner. For a guy that was just at the top the whole time, don't do anything stupid. And for a guy that sometimes portrayed as stupid, didn't do anything stupid gameplay wise.
Yeah. So I've heard a lot of people, some people comparing this season to season 16. You remember season 16, right? That would be Cody's original season, Lance. The one where we had our mastermind undercover cop Derek winning a fairly uninteresting season of gameplay where there weren't a lot of power shifts. You saw Derek was in a really good position all season long, and it gets to the end, and then obviously he wins. It seems almost similar. But is that a good thing, Lance? Like, I feel like thinking back to watching season 16, even though it wasn't a super dynamic gameplay season, I still feel like I was a little bit more entertained. Were you more entertained
100%,
by 16?
100%. Big Brother 16 might get pooped on by a lot of people. I haven't rewatched it, but in the moment, I was kind of in awe of Derek a little bit. You like, if you don't watch the live feeds and you get kind of the narrative that the producers put together for you, Derek played an amazing game. He played a top 5 kind of player, like winner kind of game and everything. And I found that way more interesting. And you had just more interesting people and just things that went on. So I don't remember, like I said, I hadn't rewatched it or anything, but I was way more entertained. I've never been this bored in a season.
Yeah. Well, we did have Cody and Nicole both in season 16. So there's some overlap there. But yeah, I mean, I've never been a Frankie Grande super fan, although he's damn good at Big Brother. Zach was very entertaining, and their little their fake gay showmance I thought was interesting, and you had Jocasta was there. You had her. I don't know. Yeah. It was a season. Hayden. I liked Hayden was fun.
Yeah, there was some interesting aspects and stuff. Yeah. And like I said, if you didn't watch the live feeds, you don't see how Derek treated people. You get a totally different version of Derek, who's just an amazing game player.
Yeah, and Cody is playing a very Derek game, and it makes total sense because if you're Cody and you're going to go on the game, you give Derek a call before you show up, right? You got any advice for me? Hey, why don't you run my game? It's like, okay, it sounds great. And then he does, and he wins.
But Cody isn't as big of a bully. Like, he will talk down to people, and obviously Cody's not great and everything. But, Derek was a bigger bully, it felt like, when things weren't going his way. But nothing ever didn't go Cody's way, so I guess you can't really tell.
Right. Everything went his way all season long. I feel like Cody is maybe a little bit Derek light. I think Derek is a little bit more of a strategic mastermind. Cody is more likely to make mistakes. None of his mistakes really seem to cost him here. But
and Cody's just more Cody's just more charming, so it's a little easier for him. He's not as big of a mastermind, obviously, but
he is very
the charm. Yeah. The charm makes it a lot easier for him, for sure.
Yeah,
especially with it's an all-star season, but I mean, all-star in name only.
It's that Jersey magic. Him and Enzo, they got that thing.
Gotta be it. Yeah,
about there.
That's it.
Yeah. It could be an all Jersey. We just got off from Survivor this past,
which was all Jersey too, right?
With an all Jersey final 3, and then if we get Cody and Enzo, which is a pretty likely pairing in the finals, we can have 5 of 5 for the CBS reality show, all New Jersey finalists.
Maybe this is why 2020 is so awful.
Yeah. There's something in the water there.
Yeah.
And as someone who comes from New Jersey, it's probably chemicals.
Something in the water. It's the high tax rate. I don't know what it is.
it's chemicals from plants long gone by. Yeah, no, it's hey, listen, I as a hometown Jersey boy, I love it, even if you know it's Cody, but still.
I mean, Cody deserves to win. So I mean,
yeah,
if he wins this season, I mean, if we get like a Christmas versus Nicole ending, like honestly, I feel like the season kind of deserves that because it's so bad. But Cody would at least, you'd feel justified that we get the right winner, which would not save the season, but it would save it from being like the worst season ever.
It's almost like it'll find its way into like the Survivor One World bucket, where it's like, hey, that's a great winner, and that's all you're gonna say positive about that season. He's a great winner.
And even then, I still feel like you're gonna get a but. Like he's a great winner, but and that's just gonna stick with him.
And then
it's the Nicole treatment.
Down the line, we'll bring one of these people back.
Great.
It's great, but no, it's all right. He's maybe this is just the start for Cody. First this, and then he can also join the bobsledding team. They could be just gold from Big Brother to gold medals. What a story!
That'd be cool. Cody should go on the challenge, but he's not a challenge guy.
Yeah. Hey, two of them together. That would be an interesting.
Hey,
they could do
if
like
we get bloodline
family.
do it
too. Again. Yep.
Yeah. Bring Bananas' cousin or whatever back, Vince.
yeah. That's right. I remember that. All right, Lance. I think that about wraps.
Let's get out of here.
That about wraps us up for this week. What else do I have? Oh, I just had I promised it early in the episode. I'll just get it out here. We've got a lot of people are apparently backing Devon for America's favorite player. If that is surprising to you in the slightest. Yeah.
I'd much rather her get the money over Janelle or Kaser. I mean, if we're just like Davon, I mean, if she's like, those are the three, right, that are the most popular. I feel like Dave could use the money and do the most with it. So I'm totally with her for that.
Yeah, I'm not looking to make an official endorsement here, but if I was looking to make an official endorsement, my official endorsement would be Devon. But I'm not looking to make an official endorsement, so take from that what you will. But yeah, Daniel Reyes, even Cody Calafiore is out there saying that Devon should be AFP.
Well, they're close, you know, so I get that.
They were ride or die on the challenge. Did not transfer over to Big Brother. The brother connection didn't work out for it too well. But yeah,
too bad.
Anyway, so we got a lot of people out there rooting for Cody, I guess. But we've got some folks rooting for Devon too. So anyway, don't forget. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Don't forget to vote, please. If there's one thing that's important this year, it's voting, and it's not just that. Vote for everything. Get your little ballot thing and get your little sticker. This is us doing good for get your little voted sticker.
There you go.
Show it off. And when people say, "Oh, who'd you vote for?" you just say Devon, and it's all good.
There you go. Right in.
Yeah. So hey, everybody, that wraps us up for today. If you like what you hear, please give us a follow on your favorite, subscribe on your favorite podcasting app, whether that's Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. Basically, anywhere you'll find good podcasts, you'll find ours, including Amazon now. Also can find us on Facebook and YouTube, our video. You can catch us on there. A lot of people enjoy that as well because they get to see our faces and occasionally your dog, Walter, Lance.
That's right.
And if you really, really, really like what you see, please leave us a review on your favorite podcasting app. 5 stars only, please. And if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can just hit the like or whatever. That's good too. Thumbs up. Always thumbs up, right?
Word.
All right. We'll see you all back here next week. We're going to talk about the Final 4. We're going to know who's going to make it to the Final 3. And we are almost at the finish line, Lance. We made it. And
thank God.
We're almost there, man. We're almost there. We'll see you all back here next week, okay? Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.